Hello, fellow peasants. This is the spoiler review for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. If you have not seen this film yet, please turn this video off. Go watch my non-spoiler review. I give you all kinds of information and my thoughts on the film. That's where you'll get the majority of my opinion on the film. This video will mostly consist of me covering the spoilers of the film. Not so much whether I think it's a good film or not. That's for the other review. This is for me to give my opinions and thoughts on things that I couldn't share in the last film. But if you don't give a rat's ass, if the film's spoiled for you, well then just stay in here anyway. So I'm just trying to make sure that you guys don't have your movie experience ruined. All right, guys. So the film starts out, Indiana Jones is on a train. He's in Germany during World War II, and he is de-aged. It's a CGI effect. They used AI to go through, find images of Harrison Ford's face over the years for Lucasfilm, and put his old face, his old face on his new face. And so there's about a 20-25 minute flashback at the beginning of the film. And that's where you're introduced to Mads Mikkelsen, who plays a Nazi who's in search of the Dial of Destiny. The Dial of Destiny is a time machine. Not so much a machine, but it's a mechanism that is used to find fissures in time. Mads Mikkelsen is a physicist. He worked at NASA in the film and helped them get to the moon, helped the USA get to the moon. But now that he says he's conquered space, he wants to conquer time. And so he's looking for the Dial of Destiny. And I like the opening scene. I think it's great. It really kicks off the film well. As soon as it basically gives you like old school Indiana. Like it gives you like the old looking Harrison Ford. It gives you the action. It gives you everything you want, everything you would get in those first three films. Excuse me. And then it cuts to present day. And Harrison Ford, or Indiana Jones, is whatever, in his 70s, old, he's shirtless, he's living in a one-bedroom apartment. He's not in his house anymore. He's at a new college. He's not at Marshall anymore. I don't believe in this film, which I'm kind of confused about. If someone can explain this, why is he not at Marshall anymore? Because I'm pretty sure Crystal Skull ended with Indiana Jones being the associate dean or something at the end of Skull. So I'm kind of confused as to why he's moved universities this late in his career. Anyway, he's on the verge of retiring. He's in the process of getting a divorce. And he's not really liking life a whole lot. He gets really pissed at his neighbors. Like, he's really cranky. Like when he wakes up, he's just in his boxers. He's shirtless. And these kids are playing some Beatles records next door. And this is the day of the moon landing. And he gets pissed, grabs a ball bat, starts screaming at him, like, turn that shit down. I don't want to hear it. And it's a really jarring experience to go from like the old school Indiana Jones, watching him on the train fighting Nazis, all the way to like cutting straight to him in this recliner, shirtless in his boxers, screaming at the kids to turn down the Beatles music. I don't have a problem with it. I think it is a decent way to show the character. A lot of people are like, oh, you're disgracing Indiana Jones. You're showing him as an old man, an old bitter old man. And well, Indiana Jones was always a grumpy asshole. Every movie he's in, he's a grumpy asshole. He's kind of a dick. I mean, it's not unfathomable that the guy who's a womanizer and someone who gallivants all over the globe, taking artifacts and you know what I mean? And who's just a grumpy dude anyway, and a cynic, and in his 30s and 40s. You know, it's not shocking that he would be the same guy who would be like, turn your fucking Beatles music down in his 70s or 80s. You know what I mean? Like, it's not shocking to me. It kind of fits the character, honestly. So he retires and he goes to a bar, and his goddaughter walks in, Helena Shaw, played by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, which everybody hates. I don't think she did that bad of a job. I don't like her character. She's a good actress from what I can tell. From what I've seen in this, she did a really great job at acting. It was just her character was annoying and kind of a know-it-all. And I think that's okay to some extent, but there were some parts where it did get a little annoying when she just seemed to constantly have all the answers, and Indy they wrote it to where Indy was like learning from her, which is fine, but you know, at a certain point it's like, okay, well, let Indy know a little bit too. But overall, it was fine that she knew a lot, because it made sense she knew a lot, because it's her dad. It was Indiana Jones' not best friend, but his good friend, who was her dad. You know, that's why he's her godfather. And so it makes sense, if her father was obsessed with the Dial of Destiny, that she would know a shit ton about the Dial of Destiny. She learned from him. So that's not too shocking or super annoying. I can handle that. So they're at this bar, they're drinking. She wants to go find it. She wants to drag him into the adventure. He's like, I don't know. He was supposed to destroy it. His friend told him to destroy it if he takes it. He hadn't destroyed it. And him and Helena go to the archives, like a place in the university with all the artifacts and this and that. Indiana Jones pulls it out. They take a look at it, and all this time, the Nazis, the bad guys, they're on the trail. They're looking for it. They're coming to the university. They want to take it. And she steals it from Indiana Jones and runs away with it. And because she's kind of a shitty person in this film, she just takes artifacts and doesn't want to put them in museums or archive them for history's sake. She wants to just sell them. She doesn't care about the historical preservation of it. She just wants to steal the artifacts and sell them for money at auction. So then we move towards this chase scene. The first chase scene in the film is them at I think it's called a ticker tape parade or whatever. There's this huge parade in the street. People are celebrating the moon landing. And they chase Indiana Jones out into the street. He ends up stealing a cop horse, running away from him, going down through a subway, and he ends up getting away. Helena gets away. Helena ends up going to, I think, Tangier, and Indy follows her there. She's trying to sell the half of the dial she has at this auction. And Indiana Jones shows up, and he's like, what the hell are you doing? This belongs in a museum. This auction's over. This is mine. You stole this. She's like, I stole it, then you stole it, and then, whatever. Mads Mikkelsen shows up. The Nazis show up here again. And he wants the Dial of Destiny back because he wants to, whatever. The whole point, Mads Mikkelsen character is a Nazi who wants the Dial of Destiny. The reason he wants this is because he feels Hitler screwed up and lost World War II for Germany. So he wants to go back, remove Hitler or kill Hitler, whatever, remove him from power somehow. And he wants to take Germany into success. He wants to win the war for Germany. He thinks he can go back and correct Hitler's mistakes. So that's his motive. His motive is so that the Nazis can take over the planet, basically. He wants to go back and fix that. Phoebe Waller-Bridge's goal with it is to sell it. And Indiana Jones's goal with the Dial of Destiny is, well, I guess to just keep it there at the at the university. That's what he does. He likes them in a museum. That's where he likes his artifacts. You know what I mean? So anyway, there's a scuffle, there's a shootout there. They get into a little car chase. Eventually, after so many back and forths, them having the dial, the Nazis getting the dial, or whatever, they end up getting with Antonio Banderas. Antonio Banderas is in this movie, not very long. Has like a little cameo in this. He's an old friend of Indiana Jones. They go out on his boat so they can go out into the water, deep sea dive, and get this other half of the dial, and or whatever the fuck it is. They get this thing, and turns out, you think that Helena's gonna sell, because she's like, once they pull the thing out of the water, the Nazis are like, okay, read it to us. We don't know how to read this shit. Read it to us. So she's like, okay, I'll read it to you, and I'll do it for $100,000. Well, he offers her like these diamonds. He's like, I'll pay you more than that. I'll give you these diamonds. So she starts reading it. She reads it for him. At this point, Indiana Jones has been punched in the face, and he's just kind of sitting there like he doesn't know what to do, because they have guns on him, And the Nazis shoot Antonio Banderas. They kill him. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge ends up lighting this piece of dynamite and blowing the Nazis up on the boat. They get out of there in time. But so they melt this thing away. Whatever they found in the ocean, the thing that she read, they take a candle to it or light it, and it melts away. And it's like gold. It's some sort of other piece they needed for this thing. And so there's a lot of back and forth between who's got the dial, who doesn't have the dial. One of the best parts in the movie is on the boat. And on the boat, when he's talking to Helena, she said, if you could go back in time, what would you do with it? And Indiana Jones says, I would go back in time and stop my son from enlisting in the war. And she says, like, did he do it to make you mad, or I can't remember what she says. And he says, no, he did it to piss me off. I can't remember what she said, but he said he did it to piss me off. And so Mutt, who plays Indiana Jones' son in the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, you find out on this boat ride that Mutt died in Vietnam. He died in the war. And Indy said that he would go back and tell him not to enlist because it would kill him, and it would end Indiana Jones and Marion's marriage. And that's a really good part of the film. It's a really sad part, because that's when you learn that's why Indy is so unhappy, is the death of his son tore his marriage apart, because his wife couldn't handle it, or I don't know. Whatever happened ended up causing some sort of rift between them. Anyway, so that was a good part of the movie. That was it was a good dramatic part. The acting was really good in that. You really bought when Harrison Ford's talking about that happened, and it hits you a little bit. I also like the part where they're under the water. When they're under the water and the eels, there's no snakes in this film. There's no scene where Indy's scared of a snake. But before they go down in the water to scuba dive to go get that thing, the little kid, whatever the fuck his name is, he is like, oh, the eels, they're like snakes. And Indiana Jones is like, no, they're not. No, they're not. Because he doesn't want to think that there's something like a snake down in the water. So he's like, no, they're not. No, they're not. And there are some good moments of tension in this film. Like when Indiana Jones is stuck down in the water, and the eels, they bite and shit, And so they're kind of attacking him, and he sends off a red flare to signal that he needs help. And while I'm watching it, I'm like, oh my God, like, get the fuck out of there, dude. there's some good suspense building, some good like, oh my god, get out of there. Then there was a couple moments like that, and then the movie just kind of does this back and forth, back and forth. It's one thing. It's one of the small gripes I have with the film. Is there's a lot of like Indiana Jones and his daughter go somewhere. The Nazis show up. Then they go somewhere else. And the Nazis show up. There's a lot of... It's a little repetitive in that way. But overall, I don't think it's too bad. Some people made it worse than what it is. But I think... I appreciate them going to different locations. But the constant hot potato was a little annoying. And once again, I do appreciate them going to multiple locations, but I really don't feel they made you feel like you were there. Like I said in the previous non-spoiler review, the camera work in this, there's not a whole lot of open, wide shots. You don't get a whole lot of shots that make you feel like you are there. You're exploring these places. Everything is so closely cropped. Everything is such a close-up on the characters. You don't get a good view of the world around you to feel like, wow, this is nice. This is pretty. I mean, shit. Just the opening of The Last Crusade is like beautiful scenes of the desert. Wide open, wide lens shots of the desert. You really get a feel for where you're at, you don't get that in this film at all, and I think it makes it suffer in that way, because Indiana Jones is an escapist type of film. You want to feel like you're on this adventure with him, and anytime you feel like you're in this, claustrophobic frame, this tunnel, this bubble or whatever, it's hard to feel that you're in this wide open place. It's hard to get a feel for your surroundings in the film. So the only time it redeems itself in those terms is in the end scene. So they finally get on this plane with the Nazis. Indiana Jones has been kidnapped by the Nazis. He's been shot. He's on the plane with the Nazis. And they find a fissure in time. And the bad guy, Voller, played by Mads Mikkelsen, he thinks he's going back to 1939 during the invasion of Poland. He thinks he's going to go back and he's going to fight World War II for Germany rather than Hitler. He's going to correct Hitler's mistakes. Well, one of the things that Voller didn't take into account is continental drift. So the markers are off. And so they don't end up in 1939. They end up 2,000 years in the past instead, in Roman times, with Archimedes, the guy who created the Dial of Destiny. So they fly their plane into Roman times. Yes, there's time travel in this film. They fly in this plane into Roman times. There's a battle going on. There's a war going on. Helena is on the plane. She gets rid of the Nazis on the plane. And they all fly out the escape hatch or whatever. And then her and Indy jump out of the plane before it crashes. The plane crashes. Kills Voller, the Nazi bad guy. He dies. He's all burned up and shit in the crash. And Indy and Helena crash land onto the beach or whatever of this Roman town, this Roman city. And Archimedes sees the plane in the sky. So he comes out, he rushes out, and he ends up meeting with Indiana Jones and Helena. And you find out that he didn't really build it so he could time travel or anything. He built it for help, like he wanted people to come to him. There's something, it's alluded to in the film that he built the Dial of Destiny so that someone could maybe come back through time to help them win the war, or I'm not quite sure. But Helena says Indy can't stay. Indy just wants to stay back in time. He wants to stay in history and die. He's been shot. He's old. His kid's dead. He's going through a divorce. He's like, fuck it. I just want to die here. I got Roman soldiers fighting a war around me. I've spent my whole life loving history, loving this type of stuff. Just let me die here. She's like, no, I'm not going to let you do that. She tells Archimedes he can't stay here. He's not able to help you. He doesn't have the resources. He's old. He's sick. He's shot. He needs to go back to modern day where there's medicine that can help him. Because there's another plane. Like, their plane crashed, but the little sidekick shit, the little kid in this film, somehow he's able to fly a plane, and he was following behind the Nazis' plane when they went through the time fissure. So his plane is all good and in good condition. So she punches Indiana Jones in the face because he doesn't want to leave. He wants to stay and die on the beach during this Roman war. And so she punches him in the face. You wake up. It's 1969 again. It's New York City. And Sala's in the apartment. Helena's in the apartment. And Marion walks back in. And there's a nice little callback to the show me where it hurts or whatever, you know, from Raiders of the Lost Ark. And they kind of have like a moment together, and so you assume they're back together now. And then the final shot is the fedora hanging on the clothesline outside his apartment window, and you see Indy's hand reach and grab the fedora off the clothesline. And so that is Dial of Destiny, guys. I really loved the fact they went back in time. I like the wide open shots of the Roman War. It's the only time in this movie you get nice wide open landscape shots of something to show the scale of what's happening. I really like the time travel aspect. A lot of people are like, this movie shits the fucking bed. Oh my God, they went back to Roman times and talked to Archimedes but dude, can you end on a more freaking baller note with Indiana Jones than him actually being able to travel back in time and see some history at the end of his life? What a great ending. You know, people complaining about the end of this film, it's not a good send-off. You know, I understand if you like the first three films and you think that Last Crusade is the best way to end the franchise, I'm not going to disagree with you there. Riding off into the sunset is awesome. But overall, don't sit and say that this was an abomination of a film. The ending was garbage. I don't want to hear the shit like time travel. Oh my God. Okay, we had the Ark of the Covenant in the first one. We had voodoo in the second one. We had the Holy Grail in the third one. I mean, all of these movies have supernatural aspects to them. They all have things that make you go, oh, really? Like, that's kind of crazy. You know, these aren't grounded in reality films. And I've said this before, but when Kingdom of the Crystal Skull came out, people lost their shit that it was about aliens. Dude, the last movie was just about a cup that if you drink from it can make you live forever. And then the aliens is what you're going to lose your shit over? You know what I mean? I thought it was a good movie. I'm going to be doing my ranking here soon, so you'll find out how good I think it is. In terms of a movie overall, pure enjoyment, ranking, putting it up there with other films that I like. Just in general, this isn't a ranking or a rating based on Indiana Jones. This is just pure entertainment. If I ever want to watch it again, whatever. I would probably give this film I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I'd give it a 7 out of 10. I liked it. It gets like a solid C. C plus. I liked it. It was good. It wasn't mind-blowing. It wasn't life-changing, but I'm not a huge Indiana Jones fan. So I liked being able to, I could go into this not being a diehard fan and see it for what it is. You know, I don't have all this nostalgia for the older films. I don't have these blinders on when it comes to how good the old films are. Because I went back and watched the old films, guys. I went and watched the original trilogy in the last few weeks. And there's some shit in those movies. There is some cheesy crap. There are some bad effects. There are some bad lines, some bad acting, some bad plot points. But they all get forgiven. They all get forgiven because they're the originals, you know. If the Dial of Destiny, as it's made now, if you'd have taken this movie and put it out in the 1980s, people would have ate this shit up. They would have loved it. That's my opinion. I think they would have loved it. Because people back then weren't so religiously hardcore about their films. Nowadays, if a movie's not the best thing since sliced bread or a life-changing religious experience for you, it's a piece of shit. No one can say something was okay or that was good, that was acceptable. Everything is complete dog shit or, wow, that changed my fucking life. This is the best thing ever. You know, nobody can have any gray area. There's nothing in between anymore. And this movie falls in the gray area. It's just there. It's a 7 out of 5, man. 7 out of 5. Not bad, not great. It's just kind of there. And for people who want to sit here and give this a movie like a 3 or 4 out of 10 because they don't like wokeness, this movie is not woke. This movie has nothing to do with wokeness. I never once thought while I'm watching this film that there was some feminist agenda or some woke agenda. You can find that shit in anything you watch. You can go back and watch the original Indiana Jones, and you could, if you want to, you can go and find stuff that Marion says that you think is woke. You can find that crap in anything. But what happens is these morons here on YouTube who have these grifter channels where they just sit and hate things, and they're probably lying to their own audience. They probably don't even hate half the things they say they hate, but they have to hate it because they get clicks off it, and their audience expects for them to hate the things they hate. So if they turned around and admitted that this was a good film on their channel, they would lose clicks. They would lose subscribers. So they can't be honest with their opinions on their channel because their whole channel is based off outrage and hating Disney and hating wokeness and hating Kathleen Kennedy and all this shit. So, as we're on this channel, I'll tell you if something's dog shit or if I like it. The major consensus with the internet community right now is that this film is horrible. Well, I'm not going to go with the consensus of the majority on this film. I like it. I think it was a great film. Was it mind-blowing? Was it next level? Was it life-changing? No. But I gave it a 7 out of 10. I thought it was a good film. I had a fantastic time at the movies. So, that's it. Nice little rant there at the end, but I'm really tired of people hating on films because they're not some sort of amazing life-changing experience for them. It's either all or nothing for some of these people, and I don't operate like that. So All right, guys. Well, that's it. That is my spoiler review for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Let me know what you think about the film down below. If you have seen it, if you have not seen it, and you've gotten this far into this video, well, you know a lot about the film now, and hopefully you don't care that it's been spoiled. So, all right, guys, coming up next will be my ranking for all 5 of the Indiana Jones films. You might be shocked where certain things fall and don't fall. So stay tuned for that, and have a good one, peasants. Peace out. Bye-bye.